listeners, if everyone can mute their phone lines, that'll help for the conference call purposes here. We're going to go ahead for the Tropical Storm Cindy update for 10 a.m. on Wednesday, June 21st. My name is Roger Erickson, the Warning Coordination Meteorologist here at the National Weather Service in Lake Charles. The overview graphic we're looking here mentions the fact that Cindy is still expected to make landfall. Hold on a second. My slideshow just stopped on me. Tropical Storm Cindy is expected to make landfall early Thursday morning near the Texas-Louisiana state line as a weak tropical storm. We have a tropical storm warning and a flash flood watch out right now for our entire forecast area. We've got a couple of graphics to show that. The main impacts that we're still focusing on for our area is the heavy rain, above normal tides, gusty winds, and a few tornadoes for today into Thursday. So the next graphic that we're looking at is the outline of the tropical storm warning. It includes all 6 counties in southeast Texas and all 16 parishes in our Louisiana area. You can see where it extends further to the west into the Houston area as well as further to the east into New Orleans. But that's where the tropical storm warning is in effect right now. We'll be reevaluating that this afternoon depending on where the track of the system is and the strength of the winds as well. The flash flood watch right now covers our entire area. That's the next graphic that we're looking at. You notice there's also a flash flood watch out for all of the area to our north, the Shreveport forecast area, as well as the Slidell forecast area to our east. So the neighboring offices were all kind of working together on creating this consistent messaging for this tropical system as it's coming into our localized areas. The next graph we're looking at is a satellite imagery of Cindy. Cindy, you can see, is shifted more to the northwest. You've got the L near the center of circulation. There's a large cluster of thunderstorms on the northwest quadrant. You can see it's basically off of our coastline. So that's the activity there. That's kind of an interesting feature. The blue area to the east of this system is actually a dry slot that's been sucked into the system. That's actually keeping the system from developing any stronger. In fact, if anything, it's going to cause this system to weaken as it's approaching landfall. The new advisory here at 10 o'clock actually dropped the maximum sustained winds from 60 miles an hour down to 50 miles an hour. So that's the news with that. However, you do still see a large area of showers and thunderstorms across the eastern area of this tropical system, extending off the Yucatan Peninsula all the way up to the Florida Panhandle area. And we'll talk about the impacts of those rainfall graphics as we go through it. This is the Weather Service radar's mosaic all across the Gulf Coast. You can see still we got the lingering showers along the East Coast. That's that frontal boundary we were talking about yesterday on the southeastern United States. But for down here on the Gulf Coast, you can see the one rain band that's extending actually across our area from Cameron Parish up towards the I-10 corridor near Lafayette. That's one. Hold on a second. So what we're looking at here is the rain bands associated with this in our localized area. And obviously, when we have rain bands in the area, that's when you can expect to see some stronger wind gusts as well. And so that's what the next graphic that we're going to show here is the wind gusts across the area. As you can see, as of 9:45, we had a wind gust up to 32 miles an hour down at Sabine Pass, 29 in Cameron, 24 down by Pecan Island. You can see south of Marsh Island in the Gulf there, it's 39 miles an hour, 27 near Abbeville, 30 down at the mouth of the Atchafalaya. So some fairly strong winds, not quite to tropical storm force winds, 32 miles an hour there at Chenault. But we are looking at the 20 to 35 mile an hour range has already started today thanks to these rain bands, and we are expecting this to continue to strengthen, especially along the I-10 corridor down to the coast throughout the day. So here's the latest forecast track for Cindy. Basically, the forecast track hasn't significantly changed here. We're still showing a landfall, give or take, near the state line. However, the point here is that the storm has weakened slightly since this morning at 4 o'clock. It's down to 50 miles an hour. It's moving northwest at 10 miles an hour. And basically, you can see by 7 a.m. we have it inland. So we're expecting the landfall to be occurring either late tonight or early Thursday morning as a weak tropical storm. It'll be a depression by tomorrow evening up near the Shreveport area. Now, the next graphic shows the bar graph, basically, of the different threats from the wind, surge, rainfall, flooding, and tornadoes. Still keeping the wind and the tornado threat on the lower end of the categories here. I did bump up surge to go a little bit higher. We'll talk about why here in a little while. Rainfall still is considered in the moderate range as well. Confidence level is still in the medium range. So what we're looking at next is the tropical storm force wind probability graphics. And basically we're looking at a 70 to 90% range near the coast. And then along the I-10 corridor, it ranges from 50% in the Lafayette area up to 80% closer to the Orange to Lake Charles area. So that's just based on the forecast track where you can see the nudging of the higher probabilities along and to the east of the track of this tropical system. And now this will be the last time I'm going to be showing the earliest and most likely arrival of tropical storm force winds because we are expecting this to be occurring ongoing throughout the day today. But you can see the picture on the left. It shows that for sustained winds, we're looking at probably any time between now and 2 o'clock this afternoon. The picture on the right shows the more likely scenario being in the afternoon along the south central Louisiana coastline, and then in the evening hours for much of the remainder of the forecast area. The tables that we showed yesterday at 4 p.m. are the same as today. I haven't changed anything. We're basically looking at timing for the gust factors. But when we're going to see tropical storm force wind gusts, still looking at coming in this afternoon hours for Jefferson and Orange County, and then in the evening or night hours for Hardin, Jasper, Newton, and Tyler counties. So that's the timing of when it's going to begin, and then basically all of it ending by midday tomorrow. So the duration, you can see on the right side, we're not expecting these gusts to last for that entire duration. We're talking about that's the window, a 10 to 16-hour window of when you could see potentially tropical storm force winds. So that's what we're looking at for southeast Texas. For our Louisiana area, like I said, it's very similar. It's the same exact table from yesterday. We're expecting activity to start in the morning hours for the coastal areas today and then extend further inland as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, with everything basically tapering off tomorrow morning or midday, depending on where they're located. And the duration, once again, some areas much shorter durations, like Rapides, only 4 to 8 hours of potential gust factors that high. Boyle's only 2 to 6 hours of it lasting that long. St. Landry, 6 to 12. So that's the numbers that we're showing still. We're not expecting, once again, that duration table there, column that we're looking at, that's not how long it's going to last. That's just the window of how long potentially it could occur. So sometime during those hours is when we're expecting the timing for some tropical storm force winds. Now, the bigger story that's ongoing right now is just the tides. The tides have been going back up. We're actually, we had approached the minimum, the low tide here, and we're approaching a high tide later on this morning, close to noontime. Here's the Sabine Pass and Calcasieu Pass timing of it. You notice at Sabine Pass, we're about, give or take, close to 3.5 foot levels right now. Down at Calcasieu Pass, it's actually getting close to 3.8 feet. So we're getting very high. It's actually, normally we would be issuing a coastal flood warning for a scenario like this, but because we have a tropical storm warning in effect, that supersedes basically what's going on. But the key point here is that we're expecting storm surge flooding along the coast. And so the focus areas here, the same spots that we've been talking about, Sabine Pass, and then the areas between Sabine Pass and Port Arthur on 87, low spots around Bridge City, not all of Bridge City, but the low areas around there, Highway 82 on both sides of Holly Beach, and then downtown Cameron. Danny Laverne down in Cameron did email me pictures about an hour and a half ago of some of the water already on the roads this morning down there in Cameron Parish. So I know it's already ongoing in some areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's occurring in other locations as well. The next graph we're looking at is further to our east for Freshwater Canal in Vermilion Parish and Amaretto Pass down in St. Mary Parish. And those numbers there, you can see, are also running basically 1.5 feet above normal right now. We're also looking at going through a high tide about midday today. with a low tide this evening before the next high tide around midnight to 3 a.m. And so the timing of this is going to be very critical for when these water levels are going to be coming in. We're going to have a surge coming in right now for this morning into the first part of the afternoon. There may be a kind of a holding pattern for the middle of the afternoon to late afternoon before the tide starts to rise again this evening into the overnight hours. So that's kind of a dangerous part here. We're talking about a potential storm surge problem occurring during nighttime hours when it's much more difficult to tell how deep the water is across the area roadways. And so the same spots that we've been talking about, Pecan Island, Intercoastal City, and Vermilion Parish, Delcom on the Iberia-Vermilion line, Sycamore Point and Burns Point as well, further to the east. The rainfall graphic here, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches is what we're still advertising. We'll be reevaluating this to see if we need to bump the numbers down slightly to like just 4 range, but right now we're still saying 3 to 5 inches of rain expected with localized potential for 10. We're not expecting everyone to get 10 inches of rain. It's just the potential if we get a big cluster of thunderstorms or a rain band that develop, similar to what we're seeing right now on the northwest side. It's out in the Gulf of Mexico, so it's producing 10 inches of rain out there. But if that was over land, we'd be getting 10 inches of rain over land. So that's what we'll be monitoring with the radar over the next couple of days to see where these rain vents form, and we'll see exactly where exactly it ends up falling across our forecast area. And the key point, once again, with the rainfall is that we are expecting problems along the I-10 corridor, especially because of the fact that drainage down here typically is related to the tides. And when the tides are running high, it's much more difficult to drain the water out of the I-10 corridor. So for those cities and communities that are along I-10 corridor south, if we have the rain events come into your area, it'll be difficult for that rain to be draining out. So just be aware of that we could have some street flooding in those areas.
And the weather.
I didn't have a chance to update the graphic, but we just now are finding out that we're going to be having a tornado watch out for our eastern forecast area. This is the threat that we originally had put out this today. You can see it's expanded. It was originally just the I-10 corridor south of Louisiana. Now it's expanding further north, almost all the way up to Alexandria. So that's the focus area for today for the risk for tornadoes. We're not going with a high chance. It's a slight risk. We're not talking about widespread tornadoes. It's a small risk for tornadoes, but it's something that we'll be monitoring very closely during the day today. And then again tomorrow and Thursday, you can see it's pretty much our entire forecast area. Maybe just our western boundary, like Tyler and Hardin County and most of Jefferson. Maybe they'll get fortunate enough to be outside of the range for tornadoes tomorrow, but the remainder of the forecast area will be under the threat of tornadoes again tomorrow. Mainly during the daytime hours is when you typically see tornadoes in tropical cyclones. For the summary sheet here, Cindy is still expected to make landfall either late tonight, early Thursday morning near the Texas-Louisiana state line. We're continuing the tropical storm warning and the flash flood watch for our entire forecast area, with the threat still being the heavy rain, the tides, and winds. So here's the summary table. And please mute your phone lines out there, guys.
It's going to be an error. If it becomes another issue, I'll go back out there.
The leader has muted your line. To unmute your line, press #6.
Conversation.
In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and drop off the conference call. If I could call Andy Patrick up. Andy will answer any weather questions you have. We're going to changing the schedule a little bit today. There's going to immediately after Andy's remarks, we're going to have a short press briefing over here with elected officials. If all of you could stay for the ESF briefing that Norman talked about earlier, we'd appreciate it. And we'll get to some more of the detailed answers at that point.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Basically, my time is going to be for questions, but I did want to mention here, just to emphasize a couple things from Cindy, is the fact that first, again, the tides are going to go up just slightly, probably through tonight, as Cindy moves inland, probably around late tonight. Rainfall-wise is kind of, we're going to, again, like Roger said, reevaluate this afternoon. We don't foresee the current rainfall forecast to go up later this afternoon. We may trend it down a little bit. As you noticed on some of the satellite imagery, a lot of dry air working around the center of Cindy. Most of the rain is offset well to the east. So we're going to be kind of evaluating that, and we'll probably have some more information on the 4 p.m. briefing. Otherwise, I'll be happy to take any questions.
that would impact us. Looks like the storm comes on shore early tonight, around midnight, a little after, and then through the day, in the mid-morning, it would be tropical force winds.
Correct. The briefing actually showed the window for potential tropical storm force winds, and we're starting to see, we're kind of getting close to the fringe of tropical storm force wind gusts. They're still offshore, but we're thinking those will start working in potentially as early as late this afternoon, and then probably persist well, into tonight. And it looks like we're thinking about midday tomorrow where that window for the wind gusts will likely end. We do notice in our wind gust forecasts that they're trending downward pretty quickly during the afternoon hours. We think gusts may be in the late morning hours potentially around 40, maybe as high as 45 miles per hour. But around, say, 4, 6 o'clock, we're trending down closer to 25 miles per hour.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Okay, I'd like the elected officials to come over to the briefing area over here. And again, if we could, if you don't have anything to discuss, I guess you could go ahead and leave, but we would like everyone to stay if possible so we can discuss